Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
What's going on, everybody?
Whoa, look at you with the high energy audio subhead there. Look at you.
Yeah, I just wanted to mix it up today, you know?
Man, people are gonna tune out. They didn't get your catchphrase. They got the awkward silence, but they didn't get the catchphrase there.
Yeah, you know, it's more of a treat if you don't know what's coming.
Well, before we introduce our guest, because of course we have another guest this week, there is a minor piece of housekeeping to attend to here. This episode is our first episode in December, and if you are listening to this when it premieres, there is still time to donate to our holiday toy drive. So we have partnered with local toy store and friends of the pod, Chubsy Wubsy Toys. You'll hear an ad spot for them a little bit later in the show, but we partnered up with them to make it easier for you to donate a toy or two or three or however many you're comfortable in donating to the Toys for Tots Santa toy train. So if you visit ChubsyWubsy.com. That's ChubzyWubzy.com. You'll see a big icon on there for their toy drive. It's really simple. All you have to do is pick out a toy from the website, and when you get to the checkout screen, there's a little comment box. Just go ahead and in that box and put toy drive or Toys for Tots, just something to signify that you're looking to donate it. And select in-store pickup when you check out, and we'll make sure that toy gets donated to the Toys for Tots train. We are going to help Super Chubsy actually hand deliver those toys when the train rolls into the station in Pompton Lakes on December 11th.
So this is the last week.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this live or at some point the week that it comes out, this is literally your last chance. So,
yep, and he's got a really great sale and clearance section too that has some new stuff in it. So some stuff from the Snake Eyes Origins movie. He's got everything on there from Barbies to Hasbro to Super 7 stuff to Mattel stuff, wrestling figures. It's all on there.
Yeah, but whatever you're gonna do, it's for the kids. So
it's for the kids.
Yeah, it's for the kids.
It's like Wu-Tang.
So. Yeah,
it's for the children. Yeah. So again, that's ChubzyWubzy.com, and let's help make the holidays special for some kids that could use a little extra joy under the tree this year. And with that, let's introduce our guest, Dave, because of course we have a guest for this episode. We're gonna keep the guest train a rolling.
Yes, we absolutely are.
So famous for their ever-expanding 3 3/4 retro reaction line, Super 7 has quickly grown from a purveyor of niche art house-style collectibles to a powerhouse that handles licenses like the Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and even some metal icons like King Diamond and Ghost's Papa Emeritus. Joining us today on the pod is a man who has a hand in bringing many of those products to life, Kyle Wlodyga. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting.
Thank you very much. That was a heck of an intro. Though I will say, you've fallen into one of the classic blunders of mispronouncing my last name.
Man,
it's a very good effort, though. That's that you followed the phonetics that are on my website to a T, and that probably just means that I'm doing them wrong. So,
all right. So as two brothers who also have a name that is is most oftenly mispronounced? Please,
Yeah.
please correct us. How do we do it?
So the L is silent. So it is Wlodyga.
Wlodyga.
Yeah, it's very Polish, and I usually let people try and fall on their face like you did. So thanks for being a good sport. The correct answer is Wlodyga. You'll get more. You'll get another chance next time. So
Wlodyga. All right. Well, we're both half Polish, so
oh, there you go. Yeah,
it's we get it. Just consonants mashed up against each other.
yeah. You basically to put your last name into any field on the computer, you just smack your head against the keyboard, and it usually works out.
Well, welcome to Adventures in Collecting, Kyle, and we're happy to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about being here too. It's I've been listening to the podcast for about half a year now. Thanks to some friends in the industry who were lucky enough to be on your podcast, recommending I talk to you guys and listening, and it's some good insights here. You guys have a lot of good questions and good guests, and I find it extremely valuable.
Well, thank you.
So Kyle, before we really get started with the whole interview here,
Yeah.
we ask all of our guests, what are you currently collecting?
Oh man, too much. So what's the line from Office Space? I guess I sort of like it all, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so right now I'm on a big Godzilla kick, just getting back to my roots because Godzilla is kind of the reason I'm an artist. I collect Marvel Legends and Mythic Legions and some Witcher stuff and some Hot Toys, Power Rangers, Star Wars, 3 3/4 stuff, records, comic books, posters, prints. I guess you can say I have the collecting gene, too much to my girlfriend's detriment. So
Yeah, we feel that we're I'm sure Dave is sitting there in his room doing the same thing I'm doing, just checking all the boxes. Like, yep, records. Yep, we do that too.
I'm literally
Yep.
just looking around the office that I'm in, and like, what do I collect? Let me just look in and see what I have on the walls here, because it's so much I forget sometimes.
So you,
Sometimes it's easier to answer what you don't collect.
That's right. Stamps and coins, and antique clowns or something. I don't know.
our mother actually used to collect clown, like the hobo style clown art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we grew up with that stuff all around the
Oh
house.
man, I was making that joke as a reference to Joe Dirt, but I didn't mean to attack your
No,
poor mother. I'm so sorry.
no offense. I don't know if Dave, does mom listen to this? I don't know if mom knows what a podcast
Probably,
is.
probably not. My guess is going to be no.
We've discussed having her on before, and it's been heated. We'll get there eventually, I think.
For her clown collection, that would be a very interesting episode.
No, see, I thought it would be fun, and you know what, like, not to air this in the middle of the interview, but I thought it'd be fun to have our mom come on and talk about like what it was like, pre-internet hunting down toys for us for like holidays, and like the whole, you know, really kind of what got us hooked on toys was all the fact that she enabled us, right? So I thought it would be fun to have her come on and talk about like, you know, stocking, Toys R Us's and KB Toys to try to get stuff for us for the holidays. But
Yeah, that'd actually be a pretty interesting episode because all our parents. Shout out to parents from 90s and 80s having to hit up Toys R Us's and actually go to places to find things. We were rewatching Jingle All the Way this,
yeah,
this season, and he's running through all of these shops, KB Toys and Toys R Us and blah blah blah, all that stuff, and like just looking at all of the shelves in the movie, it's Ninja Turtles, it's Power Rangers, it's
That's
He-Man, all this stuff, and it's just plastic gold all over those shelves that you can't find now.
that's the nostalgia hit in the movie, not the
Oh yeah,
movie itself, but
no,
just like stores.
yeah,
remember stores?
with a
Yeah.
carded ray fillet on it. Like, oh man, look at that.
Ugh. I think that movie is celebrating an anniversary this year. I want to say it's already like 25 years old or something like that.
Oh, I don't like that.
It's bananas because Funko it put out the Turbo Man this year.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
for whatever the
And
anniversary is.
I think there's Pops coming too.
Yeah. Doesn't that Turbo Man get reissued like every 5 to 10 years?
I
I feel like there's
like
been
it.
like 3 or 4 people that have done it, like Tiger and then Funko, and I want to say Mezco did one at one point, but I'm probably way
Wow, it
off
is
track.
25.
Is it? I was right. It's 25. I hate that. I
Yeah.
hate that I got that right.
Uh,
That's
And
it.
it was
Hang
like-
up, everybody. We're done tonight. That's
Right.
it. Everybody go home.
It was like 25 years like a week ago.
Ugh.
yeah, and now we feel old.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh. So remember stores and remember Turbo Man.
That's
Remember Sinbad, guys? Remember-
So stoked to be here.
Oh man. All right. So before we get into what's going on at Super 7 with you and your history with toys,
Yeah.
you recently went on a journey to a galaxy far, far away, man. With quite the crew. How was
Yeah.
Galaxy's Edge?
Man, that was quite the trip because I had never done it before ever. The last time I was in Disneyland was in 2018. Just because in 2019 I moved up to the Bay to start working at Super 7, so I didn't actually get a chance to do Galaxy's Edge before all of this closed down. So I'm kind of glad that I waited, just so that there were more rides and more things to do, and it was a little bit more buttoned up compared to what I heard from my friends who went, day one. But we did every ride. We built the lightsabers, and I shed many a nerd tear trying to hide them behind my masks because I wound up going with a group called that they call themselves the Enablers. Some of you may be familiar with. Toying Around, 796 Studios, Prime to the First, and High School Creations, as well as my coworker Yoko McCann. And we did the whole thing. We went at park open at whatever that is, like 7:30 a.m. to park close right around 12 or 11, and man, it was awesome. My wallet and I are not on speaking terms anymore, but 100% worth it for sure.
Yeah, I have not been to the Anaheim one. I do have something to cross off my Anaheim list before that, which is Haunted Mansion Holiday. But I was at Orlando Galaxy's Edge, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And the lightsaber thing, like, I don't want to get too deep into it because if you've not done it yet, going in cold is probably one of the best things ever.
For sure, yeah. I had never watched any of it, and so when just every emotional beat that they put into that, like, just
It hits.
Yeah, right, pounded me right in my heartstrings. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I couldn't believe that I was doing it.
That's a good way to describe it. You're building it. You hold it up, you turn it on, and like
magic happens.
It's heavy and like
Yeah. Which color did you do?
I went green.
Okay.
So,
I went with the purple.
Purple, yeah. Kevin Toying Around went with purple. Actually, it was pretty cool because all 4 of us who did the lightsaber build, we built different kits. So all of our lightsabers look completely different, which I think added to it, which was really cool.
Yeah, that picture you guys took by the Falcon, all holding up your lightsabers, was epic. That was an epic picture.
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to actually our mutual friend Jason Yang said, "Hey man, like I saw that you went to the Falcon in the morning. Go back at night. It's like a completely different thing." And I was like, "Oh, we're gonna have lightsabers at night? Like it's gonna be awesome." So we did that. And do not regret. That's it's probably gonna be my Christmas card picture for like the next 15 years.
Oh, what's cool too is I could speak to Orlando just for that, but like
Sure.
the photographers will be like, all right, go over there, and then there's another photographer. Like they'll tell you where the good spots for nighttime lightsaber photography are.
Yeah, and they had the guy who's doing it, because we paid the whatever $20 it was to just go for the full session. He was like giving us pose ideas and everybody put them together act like you're fighting, use the force, that kind of stuff. And it was like it was pretty rad because he, most of the time there's like, they take the picture, all right, next, move on. But this guy, like, he was into it. So I think he felt the energy of, however many, like 7 of us there were with all of our lightsabers together. It was pretty rad.
What I always find amazing about that is like I have not been to Disneyland since before California Adventure opened. So I was very young when we went to Disneyland, but I've been to Disney World countless times. Um, it always amazes me when I see those pictures of like the lightsabers with the Falcon in the background. I know how crowded the parks get, and it was only you guys in the picture. Like
Oh yeah,
there's nobody else. Like it looks like you have the entire planet of Batu to yourself.
Yeah.
It's crazy how they angle it right.
And
yeah.
time
Are
it
you
like
talking about the
unreal.
night pictures or the day pictures?
The night pictures.
Yeah, that's crazy because that's like they definitely know what they're doing. But like we went, like I said, at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was nobody there, and it was legit just us and the Falcon in like the morning sunrise kind of lighting. It was like that was the first time I cried at Disneyland. So
Yeah, I'm worried I'm going to be a mess when I actually am face to face with a 1-to-1 scale Millennium Falcon. Like I don't know how I'm going to handle it, frankly.
It's pretty great.
Like I don't know
Like
if I'm ready to like weep in front of my 6-year-old.
one of my favorite things, like Anaheim, because Anaheim is the only place where Boba Fett is. So he was at the launch bay, and
Okay.
all of a sudden, where like Boba Fett comes out, and like if you ask around, they'll be like, yeah, it'll be like they kind of give you an idea time wise, but he just comes out when he comes out. Boba Fett talks, and Boba Fett just will step right to you, and it's the best. Like I am just sitting there trying not to smile and like laugh at how awesome this is, that I'm getting yelled at like nose to nose from Boba Fett.
That's pretty incredible. I
And
did
there's
not know that Boba
picture
Fett
of it.
was at Anaheim. Now I have reason to go back. Like I needed another reason.
Yeah,
But
he's usually in the launch bay. I don't know if that's still there though, because
yeah,
Galaxy's Edge was not built yet when I was there last.
we saw Chewbacca and Rey and Kylo and some stormtroopers, and that was pretty cool. Especially Chewbacca, just like chilling, walk like because he was like underneath the Falcon. It made it like it looked like he was working on it, which was like
Oh yeah,
that was really cool.
it's awesome.
Yeah, I literally so pre-pandemic we had a huge trip planned. So this was before we found out that my wife was pregnant with our second daughter, and the pandemic was not even like there weren't even rumblings of it. We had this huge trip planned. We were going to do like a Disney cruise and then go to Disney World, and like it was going to be this whole like 10-day ordeal, and we were going to go to Galaxy's Edge and we were going to build lightsabers. And then it literally was just like global pandemic. I'm pregnant. Trip canceled.
The hits keep coming.
So I have been patiently waiting and avoiding videos on YouTube. Like I still don't know what happens in Rise of the Resistance. I don't know what happens on the Millennium Falcon with Smuggler's Run. I don't really even know what like the inside of the bars look like, or like any or the cantina, excuse me. I don't know anything. Like I know very basically like the main exterior shots and like the super touristy stuff that people have done. That's really all I've seen. I have tried to stay as spoiler free as humanly possible, so that way I can have some sort of like a experience with it.
The
Yeah.
only thing you know is you can get a Porg mug at Oga's.
Yeah, and that's only because I've seen yours.
That's
Yeah.
pretty great. The cantina, we went very early, so we got bloody rancors in the beginning, which was rad. I think the only like I also went in with no context of what's there, what to expect or whatever. The only thing that was sort of like not ruined for me, but just like, oh yeah, this is a real thing. Is my friend's mom is a waitress at Olga's Cantina, so it was like, oh hey Cheryl, hey, how you doing? Like immersion was broken a little bit there, but otherwise it was really cool.
Yeah, that's about it. Like anything else would be taking you into spoiler territory.
Yeah.
Um, but we've talked about galactic history, but now we're going to find out about Kyle your history. So how did you start designing toys for Super 7, and what are some of your favorite products you've had the chance to work on there so far?
Oh man, well that's a two-parter. So you're gonna have to remind me of the second part as I get into the deep, long history that got me into the toy design industry. I think a common thread amongst most people who are part of the toy industry, at least that I've noticed, is that most of us sort of fall into it. I don't know many people who, I went to school for this. I studied to be an action figure designer. It's just no. I close my eyes and one day, look here I am working for Hasbro or whoever. So this is the legit actual connection that got me into uh, toy making. I played water polo in high school. And some of you may be asking, well, how do you fit the horses into the water? That is not what water polo is. Water polo is a sport commonly played in California, Southern California, and like Florida. It's basically like volleyball plus wrestling, where you have to like tread water and throw a ball into a net. So I
I've
played
seen
that.
it in the Olympics. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's an
it's an
Olympic
Olympic
sport.
sport.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
It is hands down one of my favorite Olympic sports to watch.
Yeah, it's brutal. So yeah, anything that's under the water that the ref can't see goes. So there's just a lot of kicking and punching and stabbing and all that fun stuff. So I don't miss it at all. Yeah, so I played water polo in high school, and in my sophomore year, I was under the coaching of this guy named Daniel Adolf, who is important to the story later. So he was this water polo coach who first day of practice he wore a X-wing T-shirt with a belt buckle that said "Speak, friend, and enter," like Lord of the Rings. And so I was like, all right, this is my guy. So he and I got to talking, while he was my coach and talking about, art and all this stuff. And he was an illustrator and things like that. So great time there. And then, I quit water polo. I graduated high school, cut to a few years later. I'm, about a year into college, year or two into college. And I'm working as a lifeguard at the local pool. And working with this girl Krista. So Krista is like, oh, like, hey, do you want to go to lunch today at shift? It was some random man. Like, yeah, sure. She's like, oh, is it cool? My boyfriend comes. I was like, I don't care, whatever. And we go. It was like Burger King or something. And guess who it is? Her boyfriend is Coach Daniel. Wow. Uh, no one saw that coming. And so he and I got to talking again. And, he had just finished his master's in illustration. He was, working as a designer and doing freelance and stuff. And he had this, roommate and he played Magic the Gathering and it was all this nerd stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm about this. This is what I'm here for. And I think poor Krista, was kind of bummed that he and I connected so hard because it basically like she became the third wheel on the date. So that was fun. They are no longer together, of course. That ended very, very shortly after he and I started hanging out again. I think I took all of his attention. But uh, one day I go over to his house to play Magic the Gathering with him and his roommate, and it's a draft. I don't know if anybody does Magic the Gathering, but it was one of the draft tournaments where everybody gets a bunch of packs and puts stuff together and plays a tournament with decks. And the roommate was this guy named Ben Stoll. And Ben was a game designer for a place called Cryptozoic Entertainment, and
Mm.
they're pretty famous for doing World of Warcraft trading card games, Walking Dead trading cards, and
DC as well, right? They have some.
DC deck building game. That's right. Yeah. So I was talking to him, and he was like, "Hey, we need an intern. Are you available?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm available." I don't really get these card game things, but it's a job in the entertainment industry. So here we go. Uh, that was I think winter of 2012. when I went into Cryptozoic and I interviewed for the internship and talked to the CCO, creative director guy named Corey at the time. I got to see what my first real taste of like what an actual studio looks like, and there's games everywhere and there's art on the walls, and I was like, these are my people. I found my home. This is what I want to be doing. Yes, 1,000 times yes, I will take this job, even though it's not paid. And so I interned for them from like January of 2013 till roughly June of 2013. Got my college credit and stuff, and it was awesome. During that time, however, I sat next to this guy named George Nadeau, who was the art manager for Cryptozoic, where he acquires art for trading card sets and works with artists to do sketch cards and one-to-one pieces of art, that kind of stuff. So he and I got to talking, and I kind of expressed interest in doing some work for him, and he was into it. So right around when my internship at Cryptozoic ended, about 2 or 3 days later, I got a call from George saying, "Hey, do you want to do some Adventure Time cards?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I do." So right after that, kept going, did some Adventure Time trading card sketch cards, which, for those who may not be familiar with sketch cards, they are blank cards in which the company will send out, 60 to 100 to an individual artist, and they will draw, hand-drawn sketches of characters from that IP, and then send it back and sign it. And it's kind of a rare chase card into the trading card set. And so I did that for him for a good long while. And that connection kind of fostered just ultimately what would become like my toy career, in that for about 6 months there, I did the freelance thing with them. And when they had another opportunity for in-house work, contract work, doing like data entry, it wasn't art. I didn't care. I wanted to be in the studio. I wanted to be around these people. I wanted to be doing something. And so I took this job, literally just scanning in trading cards into their system with like a full-on like Xerox like ring scanner. It was crazy. I did that for 8 hours a day for a full month. Not that fun, but that is still probably the most important job I've ever taken, because when I took that job, I was put into a cubicle next to a guy named Jeff Parker, who at that time was the brand new creative director of the collectibles department at Cryptozoic Entertainment. So he and I got to talking. We liked a lot of the same stuff, like Star Wars and Godzilla and all that stuff. And so when my 1 month contract at Cryptozoic ended for data entry, literally the next day, Jeff took me out for lunch and hired me to do freelance on some DC collectibles, little bombshell figures, which were a blind box series that I did with them, all freelance. And that was like June, July of 2015. So we're skipping time here. I did that for 6 months, and after that, they brought me in full time, and I started working for them just because the department was growing, and we were starting to sell into places like Target and Walmart and so on and so forth. So I worked for Cryptozoic, doing a lot of more statue type work, final toy type work on brands like DC Bombshells, Ghostbusters, Sony's Outlander. And I also had the opportunity to work on some in-house IPs and develop some product that had no licenses that we were really, really proud of as well.
So now when you're working on products like that, like I think a lot of times when, kind of the casual collector, or even to a certain degree, a collector that's kind of pretty well ingrained into a line or a brand. When you say that you're helping design the toy, like what part of it are you actually touching? Like how does it go from what you do to like the next step to being a toy or
Sure.
a collectible?
Yeah, so it's actually a pretty big distinction in terms of what I did at Cryptozoic versus what I do at Super 7 now. So Cryptozoic, I was mostly taking sketches that we were getting from freelancers and coloring them and doing all the call outs and the PMS color call outs and setting all that up so that the factory could then paint the figures. That was what I started out doing. I also started out doing what they call box mock-ups, which I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with the retail space. But as I understand it, most major retailers have fake storefronts in their headquarters where
Yes.
they plan out the entire thing. It's called planograms and stuff like that. And so for these retailers like that, you have to mock up what that box is going to be like one to one so they can plan how it's going to be displayed in the stores. So I had to basically my very first jobs at Cryptozoic were just making these box mock-ups to then get put into these fake storefronts, which then immediately get thrown away. It was a lot of work for something that didn't really mean that much, but it helped me kind of cut my teeth on some packaging design stuff and understand how that was really working because that was not really something I had done before, graphic design or construction-y type stuff. I was really illustration focused in college. So, um, but
And just to kind of give some context to a planogram for those of you that might be scratching your heads listening to this, if you've ever been in a toy aisle in Walmart or Target around like a reset, like when you suddenly realize that like, oh, the shelves have been empty for like a few days, you might notice taped to the back of the display, like taped to the back of the shelf, like behind the pegs, like where everything would normally be hanging. Sometimes you'll see these like random weird pieces of paper that are just kind of have like a random array of squares or a seemingly random array of squares and rectangles on them. If you actually look closely at that piece of paper, that is a printed out planogram. So you can actually look and see what is supposed to be on those pegs, or potentially if it is right before a reset, you can actually see what's coming. So they might be moving, like the Target that we go to all the time just recently shifted all of their aisles around, and like the stuff that was next to each other is no longer next to each other, and it's like the wrestling figures are in a completely different aisle than they were 2 months ago. Um, but a lot of times when they're doing those resets, the store planners, whoever is helping with the reset, will oftentimes just kind of leave that planogram taped to the back of the wall. So when we say planogram, it's that little piece of paper.
that is correct. And forgive me for not explaining that further. But
Oh no, I just thought it would be a good opportunity to talk more about a planogram because it's not something that has come up on this podcast yet, oddly
Hmm.
enough.
yeah, that does surprise me. But every day's a school day, so this is what people are here for. Um, but yeah, so what was I saying? With Cryptozoic, I did a lot of that planogram stuff, and then I eventually shifted into a little bit more of the art direction stuff as well. Like I would get these sketches from the freelancer, like the freelance concept artist, and then I would work with a sculptor to make the sculptures happen, and make sure that they can actually function as toys like we need them to, and they're within cost the cost parameters, and they match budgets and all that stuff. So that was a little bit later. Just as my responsibilities with Cryptozoic grew, I was there for about 3 years. So it slowly it started from the guy who was making the box mock-ups to eventually I wound up running the entire kind of collectibles department and doing line planning for the entire year, and you know multiple $1 million of sales and all that fun stuff, but still with just the DC and Sony kind of brands and some of our own internal brands as well. But after that, after eventually Cryptozoic, I wound up just not necessarily feeling challenged anymore, and so I looked for other opportunities. And I was referred to Super Seven by a friend. I think of the podcast guy named Daniel Pickett, who runs Action Figure Insider.
Oh yeah, super nice guy.
Yeah, one of the best guys out there. He sent me this link. He's like, "Hey man, Super Seven's looking for designers. You might want to apply." I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to apply. These guys look like they got everything I need." So I basically I applied kind of cold, I think Daniel might have sent an email to Brian Flynn just to say, hey, you should look at this portfolio or whatever. But for the most part, it was pretty much a cold application. And to my surprise, they got back to me. And that was in November of 2018, I think. And so they liked me. I did a phone interview. They liked me even more. And they said, hey, we're going to be at Designer Con in, a couple weeks. You should come down and we'll, because we're NorCal, you're SoCal. Let's meet up. So they gave me a free badge for Designer Con. And I got to go meet them, which was really, really cool. And because I don't know if you guys have been to Designer Con, it's kind of like a indie toy show, lots of Japanese vinyl and streetwear and stickers and posters and that kind of stuff. So I didn't really feel it was appropriate to to like wear a business suit or anything to this interview, just because I feel like I would stuck out like a sore thumb. So I wound up wearing my battle jacket with all my band patches and my best Ghost T-shirt to this interview. And my interview was straight up with Brian Flynn and Josh, and we talked, and they asked about my work and what I had done before and what are the things I'm passionate about, and where do I see gaps in the marketplace and that kind of stuff. And with that question, I was like telling them, I think I don't exactly remember the true order of events here, so I'm painting this with a broad brush. I'm sure. If Flynn ever listens to this, he's going to roll his eyes and be like, "No, Kyle, that's not what happened." But
we'll just have to have him on to corroborate all of this.
That's the goal. I realize why I'm here. Don't worry.
No, come on.
I know. So he was telling me about it, and I was like, oh, well, if you guys are doing, because they were saying, oh, we're doing some heavy metal figures. I was like, heavy metal, what you should do. And I pointed to my shirt. I was like, you should be making ghost figures. That's what's up. It's this really cool toyetic band that, no one's really touching right now. And I think there's a lot of potential there. And I said that, and both Flynn and Josh like kind of side-eyed each other. And then they looked at me and they're like, we already are. And I was like, oh man, no way. And I was like, can I see it? And Josh was like, yeah, I guess. Like, they were like, it was very clear to me that they were like, what is this band? Why is this guy super stoked on it? Like, okay, sure. And so they showed me the picture of it, and I was like looking at it, and I couldn't help myself, and I started pointing out what was wrong with it that they needed to fix. And they were like, yeah, cool, man, thanks, we'll take that in consideration. It's like, oh, dang it, all right, blew that interview. But I to my surprise, I did not blow that interview. They gave me a design test, and I did that over the Christmas break, and then I accepted my offer to go work at Super 7 in January of 2019, and I moved up to the Bay. My first day was in someday in February, one of the early days of February of 2019. So I was able to work in the office for the better part of a year before this Panera Bread hit and ruined everybody's lives. But yeah, I don't regret anything about taking this job. I get everything I do is there are no bad projects working at Super 7, and it's crazy because I think I mentioned at Cryptozoic that I think I worked on about 3 or 4 total brands, like in my entire 3-year career there. Just in the first year at Super 7 alone, I worked on 30. So
Jeez.
It was it was a big step up, and trial by fire, tossing off the dock. But I'm happy to say that it's worked out pretty well so far.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, most of the designers that we've had on, in the past on the show, kind of find them in a role where they're working on, maybe 1, 2, at most 3 intellectual properties at a time. What are some of the challenges you face as a designer, having to jump from not only form factors because of the variety of mediums that Super 7 works in, whether it's the ultimates or the reactions, but not only that, but then all of these licenses.
Yeah. I mean, they all present their own unique kind of design challenges. And it sort of, I guess it sort of depends on the order that you get them. Like, early on in Super 7, I started working on the Transformers reaction figures, which I love Transformers. I love G1. They're such awesome designs, and Transformers really kind of informed some of my childhood. But I had never really done Transformers before, in terms of design work. And so what I didn't realize is that, like, oh yeah, it's G1. Like, they're just a bunch of like squares and triangles and circles, and nobody cares. Right? It's super easy. It's like there's no detail at all. It's like false. Those are any transformer design is basically geometry homework that they pay you to do, and it's a lot. There's a lot more math involved, because transformers and just robots and inorganic materials in design, just in general, like if anything is off by even like a millimeter, the whole thing is ruined. So you have to be very, very precise in your marks, in your design, and how that all works. Whereas, if I'm working on, uh, like a mutagen man, where he's just a bunch of guts and oozy stuff, then I can kind of go wild and make it look crazy and not have to be so uh, literal and precise, right? So there's definitely some, what I call, kind of creative whiplash, and just like, oh, I'm working on this robot, and like, oh, let's go to the organic stuff, and we're doing Creature of the Black Lagoon, and that's like it has its own kind of challenge. So there is kind of like you have to take the shifter in your artistic automobile, and shift it from Transformers to Ninja Turtles and so forth, and that takes a minute or two. So
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, they are so different. Like, I mean, it's some of the stuff that you guys put out, like I'm just sitting here looking at my modest little reaction shelf, and I
mm,
have like literally in sequence here in front of me, I have Toxie, Mr. Met, a Vac Metal Maria from Metropolis, Skeletim, and Pee Wee Herman.
mm,
And it's just like each one of them, they're all in the same toy line, but they're all so different.
yeah. It's funny that you say that the Toxie next to Maria, because that's exactly how I have them lined up in my thing. For whatever reason, I don't know why. It's the
I
it's
think
the
they
STCC Vac Metal Maria right next to the Toxic Avengers or Crusaders
yeah.
Toxie.
Yeah, as soon as you guys announced a Vac Metal Maria, I was like in. That was an instant in. I love Metropolis
Oh
because
yeah.
thank you, by the way, Dave, for giving me all of the film nerd goodness. But yeah, for that and just kind of in general, Vac Metal, because it's just not something that you really see anymore.
No, but that's because it's pretty difficult to make it something that lasts, right? Because I mean, everybody's got a collection of Vac Metal toys that are just chipped and scratched and just look beat to hell. So it doesn't really, I don't, to me, like, Vac Metal seems awesome in the very, very beginning, but then like 10 years later, you're like, oh, why did I buy this? This isn't. I can't display this anymore. This is not worth it, because all it takes is one good drop, and then it's just ruined, right?
Oh yeah, that was one where
Yeah.
my daughter was like, "Oh, who's that robot?" I was like, "Not one you can touch."
Well,
That's
we have plenty of other Maria options for your daughter to play with, right? There's
yes,
the glow in the dark one. There's the original one, I think, is just like a coppery, bronzy looking one, and then there's one from Designer Con that's like a rust color too, right? I think
yeah,
there's 5 total.
yep,
Uh,
yeah, but she can't touch the Vac Metal one.
yes, well, either of them, especially the Star Wars nod one, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, I mean, it is really cool to to look at just kind of in general the swath of IPs that Super 7 tackles, and it always seems like there's like a new one. Like you blink and all of a sudden there are you know gem figures, and you
Right.
blink again and you have the Haunted Mansion ghosts, and it's just like there's always like Ren and Stimpy and Powdered Toast Man, and it's just kind of like it never ends, never ends.
Yeah, we've been fortunate enough to find that the retro kind of reaction format is pretty evergreen for us. People are eager to see more IPs translated into that format, which there's a lot of charm and instant kind of connection to that 5 POA 3 3/4 inch form factor.
And
Yeah,
I have to call it out before. But I know Dave is eager to talk more about Ghosts, but I have to call it out before we move on.
Mm.
One of my favorite things of the year, like of all toys that I have picked up
It's
throughout the year,
probably something I didn't work on, but go.
was it Milo. Did you work on Milo?
Absolutely not. No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say just the fact that there is a 3D version of the Descendants Milo is
Oh, for
just
sure. Yeah, and then that was done by a very talented designer on our team named Nomi, who is a huge punk rock fan and loves the Descendants. And she was given the monumental task of taking essentially a napkin scribble and making it into a 3D figure.
well,
And
she crushed
she
it.
crushed it. Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, she does a great job. So I will pass those compliments on to her for you.
Thank you.
And now, a word from our sponsors. And now, back to the show.
And now we will talk about a thing that we all have in common. One of our favorite Super 7 releases has been the Ghost products, and I'm actually holding still in the box Papa 1, Ultimate Papa 1. How did that relationship start?
Well, as I mentioned in my origin story segment of this this podcast here, that relationship was started kind of before I showed up. So I'm gonna illustrate it as best as I can. But eventually, you'll have every other member of Super 7 on this team onto your podcast, and they can clarify and fill in any of the gaps. But one of our sales guys, he's our I think he's our e-commerce manager or something like that. But he's employee number 3 at Super 7. For context, I think I was employee number like 20 something. Yeah. But he used to do merch sales for Ghost and Slayer and all these other bands through a licensor named Global, and just so he had those connections, and we were able to kind of use not use those, but utilize that knowledge to help kind of create this relationship between us and Ghost's management.
Absolutely brilliant. Because, like you said before, talk about a band that is toyetic. I mean, my
Yeah.
God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah, and all the toys usually just scratch the surface on Papa's 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the ghouls are there though, like the ghoul masks. Like there's just so much,
Yeah.
and there's in theory 5 Papas if you count Papa Nil, but
Oh, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, how do you not?
how do you not? But
He's what started it all. And if you want to get
yeah,
really crazy, there's technically 6 because there's Papa Nil when he's young in the 60s doing Kiss the Goat, and then old Papa with the saxophone and the solos and stuff. So
I mean, then you could do the Cardinal as well.
that's right. I mean, we're what, at 7 mascots at this point now. So and there's 2 versions of Papa 1, and there's technically a red version of Papa 2 that he only wore one time while he's performing in Argentina. Papa 3 had a different mask before the mask everyone knows was finalized that he played 3 shows with that looks like even scarier. So it's just there's so much stuff with Ghost that we can do that I feel very fortunate that the Ghost product has done as well as it has, because I'm pretty sure it's really just me and a couple other people at the company who really are excited about it. But I'm just gonna keep making Ghost toys until they tell me to stop. So like I said, I got 100 more ideas that I'm not going to put on this podcast in case any other company listening gets wise. So
But
Yeah,
yeah, that ultimate was like what time does the pre-order start? All right, I will be on the website at that time.
and see me, obviously, like, I sprung for at least one of the reaction figures. I have a couple other ones that I'm of the ghost ones that I'm thinking about picking up as well.
Okay.
But the moment that Dave brought that over, and I kind of just took the slip cover off to look at it, I was like, yeah, FOMO. I should have ordered this. So I'm waiting for it to kind of come in stock in some of the third party sellers, so I can pick one up for myself, because it's so good. It's such a good figure.
And that's the thing I enjoy with the ultimates too, is like you have that across IPs, the familiar ultimates packaging,
Mm.
but how it's done differently for each IP brings it to life even more. And so with Ghost, you have like the cathedral windows and the silver foil, and it's just it's amazing. I love it.
Well, thank you very much. We have a very talented and dedicated packaging team who are, uh, much more talented than I am in terms of visualizing what that could look like. I'm pretty focused on just making those figures function as much as possible, but the packaging team is really what seals the deal. I think a few people will agree that a good chunk of what gets people to buy reaction figures is that packaging. So kudos to the packaging team for selling a lot of reaction figures and making you feel guilty for throwing away any Ultimates packaging at all.
Yeah, it's they're the only. I mean, I carefully razor the bubble off the cards and
Hmm.
then store the cards for. I have an idea to make like a reaction mural at some point when I have a little bit more space for it. Maybe in house number 2 or after like an edition or something. But like the card art is just so beautiful. It's so well done.
Yeah, we're very fortunate to work with a lot of talented artists, guys like Jason Edmonston and Ed Repka and stuff, who just they crush it, and you get to see all of these cool new versions of characters that you already know done by them. So
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
all my ultimates packaging so far has been toted. Just because I haven't been able to kind of bring myself to like not keep it.
yeah, for sure, and I realize that's quite the undertaking in terms of space, because each Ultimates packaging you kind of get almost like 4 boxes, right? So I appreciate, or at least 3, with the shipper box, the slip cover, and then the main box itself, right?
Yeah, at least the slipcover and the window box. The shipper I have I have not kept.
Well, that's good, because we shipped it to you, now you don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
so
What
you mentioned that, like, when you're designing these figures, you're designing them to to kind of be as functional as possible, right? Like, make them as fun to play and pose and everything, which made me think of something, right? Because
Yeah.
if you think about other toy makers, right? So whether it's something like a superhero or a character from a video game or even a wrestler, right? Like, you have kind of all of these frames of reference of like what an action figure is supposed to do, what these characters are known for posing, how they the move set they have, the kind of positions that they need to get into. How do you kind of take that into consideration with a real life person, like a person who's just on, I mean, granted, again, like somebody who's playing a character, but like somebody who is on a stage, they're a musician, whether it is Papa Emeritus or like a King Diamond or something like that. Like, what are some of the considerations that you kind of go through when you're creating the design?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like guys like King Diamond or Ghost or your Papa Emeritus, like they kind of already are like these characters. I sort of like I realize that they're real dudes. Like our sales guy texts with King, with Papa all the time. But like to me, I still view them kind of as these iconic characters, and so I treat them pretty much the same as I would like a Lion-O or a Michelangelo or a Godzilla or whatever. Like just square one. What do King Diamond and Papa Emeritus have in common? They're both singers. If they can't put their microphones up to their mouths, it's not much of figure, right? So there's basic stuff like that, but then I'm pretty familiar with Papa Emeritus, and I've seen them. I think I'm going on 9 times live, so I'm pretty familiar with how he moves, what he does when he's on stage, how he holds the microphone, that kind of stuff, how the robe should move and look. So I will send reference to sculptors and be like, make sure he can hit this pose. Like this is something he does a lot. Same with King Diamond. Like King Diamond is kind of famous for playing the air guitar with that crossbone microphone, and so I sent the sculptors that image. As like, if you can't do this, then we're not going to ship it. So it's sort of like I was saying, it's
fair.
very similar to these iconic characters that people revere, who are fictional, but they're just real dudes.
It's so interesting to think about it like that because again, like, yeah, they are larger than life. They're just as iconic as any fictional character, if not even more iconic, right? Because they're a real person.
Hmm.
But it's just so interesting to see how how you guys have kind of captured. I'm not laughing because you said that like the figure can't ship if King Diamond can't air guitar with his like his microphone, but like I've seen people take that picture with the figure and he
Mm-hmm.
absolutely can, and it's incredible.
No, it's as funny as it is for you to hear it. It's even funnier for me to have to type it out in a professional email with my Super 7 email. So
Yeah,
our
no, I can
heart is in
imagine.
for all that. Yeah. So, and I think at least for me, when I work with the ultimates and these highly articulated figures, being part of the kind of action figure community, and following toy photography accounts, and being on Discord servers and checking forums and that kind of stuff, and just looking to see kind of not what's hot, what's not, but just like what the community expects from the products, kind of helps inform like at least my own checklist of like, oh, can it do this? Can it do this? Will it be able to pose like this? How is it going to look in this kind of light, or what have you?
So from something like a King Diamond or a Papa Emeritus figure, which is something that's unique to Super Seven, and you guys are kind of breaking ground there with that. Uh, this year Hasbro began sub licensing famous toy lines like GI Joe, Transformers, and the Power Rangers, of course.
Yeah.
What was it like having the opportunity to kind of take a fresh new crack at something like the Power Rangers? A brand with such a rich and long toy history.
Well, it was, kind of, to sound cheesy and put it shortly, kind of an honor, just because there is such a huge precedence and reverence for this IP. That I really I grew up on that. Like I was born in 1990, and so I started watching that show right around that time. And by watching it, I mean that my parents didn't let me watch it, so I would have to go to my friends' houses and like sneak it in, like it was the forbidden fruit or whatever. I always thought of Power Rangers as cooler than it actually was, because it was this thing that I wasn't allowed to enjoy as a kid because my parents thought it was too violent. So to get the chance to really get to sink my teeth into it, rediscover the brand, look at it through my not only my designer eyes but my adult kind of mindset was really really exciting. Just because I don't really get a chance to do stuff like that from the ground up that often. Usually, when I get put onto something, it's an existing line or it's an existing IP, or there's already all of this kind of expectation. But we were really given kind of a blue sky to just what would be the Power Rangers that you would want to make, which was really really exciting.
Yeah, and it was neat to see some of the things like some of the accessories, right? That were included with the Ultimates, some nods to like pretty deep cuts in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, episodes, like the one figure comes with the doll, right? Like there's
Mr. Tickle Snoozer, yes.
yes, yeah. there's a lot in there that like even like we're only 2 years apart. You and I was born in '88,
Okay.
and same thing. Like I remember growing up watching the Power Rangers. Like that was like I needed to get home in time from school so that way I could be in front of the TV and watch it. Whether it was at a friend's house or at my house, but like it was bringing back such memories seeing those the kind of execution of those figures when they were announced, and like having to go back and be like, oh, that looks so familiar, and I just can't place it, and then googling it and be like, oh man, they thought to include this. That's crazy.
That comes from countless hours of rewatching the entire series on my own time, to try and find those accessories that are the like can't like oh man, like it's I usually get a 50-50 coin toss of what reaction it is, like, oh man, like what is that, why is that in there, why are they wasting plastic on this, or oh my god, they put Mr. Tickle Sneezer in there, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So it's mostly worth it for the most part. I find it to be a little bit more on the side of like, I can't believe they did that, rather than why are they doing this? So
Yeah, but that's what makes it ultimate, right?
Yeah,
Like
true.
that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
there is a clear separation, not just in scale between the other the other offerings that are out there for Power Rangers, but like there is a clear differentiator. Like this is an ultimate product that is geared for collectors, and it is meant for people who kind of live and breathe for the deep cut, the thing that really does kind of separate or differentiate the collectible from the toy.
Yeah, for sure. And there is kind of the ultimate stamp on there with the 7-inch scale, the multiple hands, the different heads, the deep cut accessories. Like, people may have seen. I've gotten questions like, well, what's the white looking gun that comes with them, or why did the Green Ranger get a vac metal shield and a regular shield? And those are nods directly to the vintage toys from Bandai.
Mhm.
And because I also work on the turtles, and we wanted to incorporate those toyetic heads for the turtles. A lot of people like them, and so we are trying to think of what's that toyetic connection we can make with the Rangers, and the accessories fit perfectly for that, because I mean the helmets on those original Bandai toys were pretty much perfect already. So I don't think it would be kind of worth it to just, oh, here's a toy head and it looks the exact same as the other one. Uh, it had its own challenges, and trying to find what's that ultimate stamp while still feeling fresh and new.
I'm just glad you didn't do 7-inch figures with head flipping action.
Huh. We thought about it, actually. So
Oof. They'd all be very broad shouldered, very very broad shouldered
that's right.
figures.
Yeah. Uh, so some of those nostalgic brands are better left in the past. That's all I'll say.
So we're speaking of nostalgia. We're going to talk about the latest Ultimate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles release, the
Mm,
Party Wagon.
yes.
So what are some of the considerations you took when bringing the classic toy to life in the Ultimate line?
Obviously, you want to be kind of faithful to that original vintage toy, while also adding a lot to it, so it feels modern, it feels ultimates, it feels you know worth the amount of work and effort it takes to really make a vehicle like that. Because I will say that Brian Flynn, our wonderful founder and leader, has had a lot of interviews about the Party Wagon, and I would not necessarily stop listening to me here, but I would go, as soon as you're done listening to this, go listen to all of those interviews with Flynn, because he does a very excellent job about talking through all of those considerations. But for me, in terms of just design wise, it was about what can we add to this, that is what are the things that were part of that original toy, or that or weren't part of that original toy that we wanted to have there now. So helmets and headwear for all of the turtles. a tool set for Donnie to work on the engine and fix it up and whatnot. A tow cable with a real chain so you can pull other cars and things like that. Opening up the cartoon top canopy, things like that. Just adding those little things that was like it just like hit after hit, making it even better with every edition.
It's such an interesting line because it really does, like, when you get one in hand, it's different than seeing a picture of it, like a piece of that Ultimates line. A friend of the pod, good friend of the pod, and I guess you could say part-time correspondent, other Dave, Creepy NJ.
Mm.
One of his favorite figures, I think, of like the past like 10 years is Bebop. And I got a chance to kind of have it in hand, and it's crazy because you just sit there and you look at it and you're looking at all of the little individual details and like the like nooks and crannies and everything, and you feel like you're holding an updated version of the vintage toy that like the back of your hand, because it's an incredibly famous figure. But then at the same time you're like, but this is also different. And like, yeah, I think, like, in my head when I was a kid, the paint apps were simple, but like I kind of imagined that these details were there. And like in your play pattern, you were like, yeah, he definitely had like a wallet chain, and it was definitely decoed that way in your head, but it really wasn't. Like, I mean, it was a simple, really, really simple paint hit, and all of those things just like seemingly are there, on these figures. And I was looking, prior to the interview, just to kind of refresh all of the details on the party wagon. Like, I spent a while just looking at the interior, like what you guys did with the seats, and the cushions, and like the things that are like on the wall inside the van, and it's just kind of all the details that like you imagined were there as a kid, and some of which, at least as far as I can remember, like, you don't see every inch of inside that van on
Mhm.
the cartoon, like,
Yeah.
No,
and
it changes kind of almost depending on the crew that was working on the cartoon at the time.
exactly. And this is kind of like, again, it sounds corny, but if you were like super into the Turtles and you found a big refrigerator box, when you were a kid, in all likelihood, like, you got into the box and pretended it was the party wagon at some point,
Yeah.
and if you didn't have a Sharpie and you were drawing like a console and like a computer and screens and stuff on the inside of the box, you were imagining it's there. And looking at this toy and looking at the images that that Super 7 has provided, it's like, wow, all that stuff is there. Like, it's like
Mhm.
like, this is the
And the
thing
fact
I imagined.
that it's gonna fit six figures, like, there's
Yeah.
just, each thing that you see about it is just kind of like, okay, but also this.
Yeah, like I said, the just hit after hit, just adding more and more value to that van. Like, yeah, it's ginormous. It does fit six figures, but you can put all four turtles plus April plus Casey in there. With it's insane, all at once, not just uh, you know in shifts. Like, you can put all six of them at one time in there, and
We're not
it's
just piling six figures in there
Yeah.
to drive
yeah.
to where they needed to go.
Yeah, no, I would not recommend trying to put Bebop or Rocksteady in there with them. It might get a little crowded, but uh, they never drew. They don't need to be in the van. It's not their van.
No.
That's what they have, the foot cruiser or whatever. So it doesn't really matter. But it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be very impressive. It's been a lot of work, but 100% worth it, and it's very exciting to see just all of these positive responses to it. Just because one of the things that I think I've heard some other guests talk about is just like, you're working on this thing for so long. It takes hundreds of hours, hundreds of people, thousands of hours of work, and you're doing it, and you're kind of doing it in a vacuum, and you're not really sure, like, oh man, is this good? Like, is this gonna be like, is anyone gonna care? And then you put it out there, and you kind of you get to breathe your sigh of relief that it all worked out. Everybody likes it. The lights get to stay on. We all get to go home to our wife and kids, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I heard this awesome quote from Jason Reitman, specifically about the new Ghostbusters film, and I feel like it applies to stuff way more than what he was talking about. But he said that a lot of times when you're working on something that's like a smaller project, and in his case, a film that doesn't have an already built-in fan base, it's your baby. Like, as the creator, like you have created this thing and you don't know how people are going to react to it because there's no established audience. And then once you put it out into the world, it becomes everybody else's. Like, the fan base owns it at that point, like after you've kind of introduced it into the world. But when you're working on an IP that already has this established fan base, and especially if it's something that has like a very active, very, very vibrant, very loud fan base, before you even get to put it out in the world, it has already been, like, the expectations are already there that you are going to do the thing justice. And if you don't, there's going to be hell to pay, right? Like, that's kind of like the perceived notion at this point. And,
Yeah. If anybody who's checked our Instagram comments will know that we pay hell all the time. So.
and you're not alone, like, you're not alone,
Yeah.
especially in today's world. But I feel like it's the turtles are kind of having this super, super, super cool resurgence. And it's interesting because, right, like when the turtles first launched, into the cartoon, granted they were the comic first, but it was that, like, medium that you could watch on TV coupled with the toy line. And right now there's no new turtle meat. Like, we're kind of like in between new turtle stuff. Like, there's a new TV show that was announced. There's a new movie that was announced. I think there's actually two movies that had been announced, but there's no media to support this kind of like fervor for turtles. It is specifically right now, I guess, like, some of it comes from The Last Ronin, the comic that's out now, but I would say like 90+% of it is purely just toys.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We call it the turtle sance in the office. Basically, there's never been a better time to collect turtles or be into turtles and stuff. And it's just because any version of the turtles that you want, someone out there is making it. It may not be us. It could be NECA. It could be Playmates. It could be whoever. But there's a version out there of the turtles for every collector in every space, and that has never happened before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy. And it's like, we've said it multiple times on the show, with guests, that it's never been a better time to be a toy collector, with the
Yeah.
variety that's out there. But just the variety alone for the turtles is insane. It's
Yeah.
and I mean, like, I say insane, but I mean it in, like, the nicest way possible, because, like you said, pretty much any format you want Kenner inspired 3 3/4 5 POA turtles, you got it. You want, like, the classic, 5 to 6 inch Playmate style turtles. You want turtles that cross over with Cobra Kai. Guess what? You got it. Like, there are turtles for
Whether or not you
every.
wanted it, you got it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I like peanut butter and I like pizza. That doesn't mean I want peanut butter pizza.
That's right.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's a great time to be a turtle collector.
Well,
It-
you were saying that too, like, even with just the breadth of stuff, Super 7 does. Think about the Ultimates. Like, there's Thundercats, there's Silverhawks,
Silverhawk, dude, we didn't even
there's
talk about
um
Silverhawks. Jeez.
there's The Simpsons, and like the first wave is like Poochie and Bo and Homer in Space and the Itchy and Scratchy robots. Like, there's all this different stuff, like, and it's all just like, I've never kind of wanted a Poochie doll more in my life.
so you're
Just
saying we got you.
all the different IPs. It's, and with The Simpsons, it's just like it could go forever
I
because there's just so much.
I could not believe when the Simpsons wave, like, when the tease came out with, like, the the piece of plutonium. In Rod we trust.
And Rod, we trust.
I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like, Bart, Homer, Marge, maybe Flanders. The Itchy and Scratchy robots and Poochie and Homer in space, and the one regular looking character was Mo. I was like, this is the most Super 7 thing that has ever Super 7'd, and it's perfect. Like because
Yeah.
it's
That said,
clearly
I was
like
hoping. That said, I was hoping for an animate carbon rod with the tease.
Hmm. Well, you never know. We're gonna be making Simpson stuff for a long time, so there's plenty of opportunities to go back and revisit some stuff that we may have missed. So
well, we're excited for it all.
Yeah, I remember when that rod tease. I'm like, they're gonna make an inanimate carbon rod. I can't wait.
See the ultimate figure, the two ultimate figures that I would want for a Simpsons line would be Stupid Sexy Flanders, number one. Like full on ski suit, Stupid Sexy Flanders with the the tight cheeks and everything.
Mhm.
And I'd want Grimy.
Hmm.
I'd want a Grimes figure.
Okay.
Just because if we're doing weird cuts from The Simpsons, like Stupid Sexy Flanders isn't really a weird cut anymore at this point. But and the other character I'd want, I always forget his name. Help me out. He's the hammock salesman. With the
Oh, Hank
blowtorch.
Scorpio.
Hank Scorpio. Yep. Thank you.
He's not the hammock salesman. He tells Homer where to get the hammocks.
Where they get the hammocks. Yes. That episode is probably my favorite episode of The Simpsons. I don't know why I just suddenly couldn't forget I forgot Hank Scorpio's name, but yeah, that would be one for me too.
The softball team.
Well, with that,
Sorry, I was writing down notes. That was.
Oh, all right, okay. With that, let's head into some Q&A. This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you. So we mentioned him before, but actually, Dave, why don't you take the first question here?
Okay. The super talented Jason Yang of At Work More or Less
Right.
asks, what obscure IP do you think would be the perfect one for Super 7 to tackle?
At the risk of giving away the farm here, I think the next golden goose for us would be Metalocalypse. Personally, I would absolutely kill everyone in this room to get to do Metalocalypse figures, reaction, ultimates, all of it. I think that's such a we've proven ourselves with heavy metal brands to be successful. I think that is such a toyetic IP that is just brimming with good toys to make that's the one for me. I think that would be so good, and it's so obscure, and we would sell dozens of them, but I would be very fulfilled.
So can I tell you which one I think would make an awesome while we're on the topic?
I think so. Let's do it.
Archer.
Similar vein.
There have not been good. There have been a couple of attempts at Archer figures, but I think Archer Ultimates would be, and frankly, reaction figures would be out of this world. Would be absolutely out of this world.
I think I agree with you there. That's not one I had thought of before. That's a good one.
Dave, do you want to toss one in? Do you have one?
That's right. Shoot your shot.
I don't have an obscure one, but I mean, for me, like obscure is like Mask, but
it always comes back to Mask.
And if I had $1 for every time we get asked about Mask,
but if we're gonna do like an animated thing, or like another like There's Metalocalypse. You said Archer. I'm gonna stay in the H. John Benjamin genre and say Bob's Burgers.
That would also be pretty solid.
Yeah. And just
Doesn't
H.
Kid
John Benjamin,
Robot do a lot
everything.
of that stuff though? A lot of Kid Robot does a lot of Bob's Burger stuff, or am I crazy here?
Ah, I feel like it's stuff that's either like very vinyl toy, like
Yeah,
where it's very, they're like statuesque. Like that would be Bob's Burgers would be such a good ultimate
There
line
were a
with the
couple.
accessories and everything.
yeah,
There were a couple Loyal Subjects action vinyls, but that was part of like a whole Fox wave.
Yeah.
sure. All
Yeah.
right.
But nothing that's like, that would be that ultimate.
Now I'm
Yeah.
gonna have Mermaider stuck in my brain for the rest of the evening, which is
I
not a
don't see,
bad
I
thing.
don't see a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna finish writing down my notes of Bob's Burgers and Archer. All right. What else we got?
All right. So the next question, we've talked a lot about music. At Bob Burkart asks, by the way, at Bob Burkart does this awesome glow art.
Hmm.
Glow Mania is his glow brand. He always shows up to like local like toy shows and fairs and flea markets and stuff with his glow art, and he does this awesome like horror and just kind of like metal art. It's awesome.
That's cool.
Um,
I'll have to check it out.
but he says you seem to have an awesome taste in music, which we've already confirmed. What are some of your favorite bands and artists?
Well, that's very kind of him to say that I have a good taste in music. That kind of segues into I'll answer the band question, but that reminds me of a story. Remember the designer Nomi I had mentioned before. Uh,
Yes.
Early on in the pandemic, we had done like a fun kind of activity in the office, or just we all slacked it to each other. We all sent in 3 songs for like what we called a Quarantunes playlist. It was everyone's quarantine kind of Spotify playlist or whatever. And I had put on a couple of Ghost songs and Rush's Working Man, right? Just because all I was doing. And Nomi was telling me the story that she had that playlist playing at her house, and her dad happened to be visiting and also working from her house during that time. And he was listening to the music. He was like, "Oh man, you got so your coworkers picked all this." He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool." And then Ghost comes on, and immediately he's like, "What is this crap? Turn
Oh,
this off." And I was so he liked literally every single person's choices except for mine, which, to each their own. I always think of that as super funny that I managed to be the only person that he was not stoked on the choices of. So
that is a very severe reaction to a very good band.
it's, it's not everyone's cup of tea. The way I describe Ghost is basically, there's 2 ways to think about it. It's, heavy metal ABBA or the satanic second coming of Blue Oyster Cult. Either of those are not really. I would listen to either of those. No.
I'm gonna forever refer to them now as heavy metal ABBA. That's definitely.
You're never gonna not be able to hear it now, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
But
Well,
to answer other bands that I do listen to, obviously I listen to Ghost a lot, King Diamond. Lately, I've been listening to a lot of Opeth and this other prog band out of Canada called Crownlands. They're very, very good. It's basically they have the full sound of Rush, but it's only 2 dudes. It's kind of insane. Um, let's see. I listen to a lot of Candlemass, and I've been listening to what am I listening to? Just a lot of just metal stuff. Typo Negative, I've been listening to a lot. Dio. Um, yeah. I kind of like it all for the most part. And it's kind of hard to narrow it down. That's just what I've been listening to lately.
Well, there you go, Bob. Nice question, Bob.
yeah, good question. So if you could work in any medium outside of toys, what would it be and why?
Well, probably not going to surprise anybody, but one of the things that I've always wanted to cross off of the bucket list would be to do album art for metal bands. Just I have a couple friends who actually do that full time, either for metal bands or synthwave bands or whatever, and they all work freelance, so there's not the comfort of having health insurance while doing it, but it's definitely something I've always really wanted to do was work on album art and album illustrations, and get some of my work on a vinyl LP. That'd be pretty rad.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that's given the kind of connections that you have with Super 7, and I know Brian's always posting his 45s, and he seems to have a very big collection, especially of like of Bay Area punk rock stuff. I feel like there's an in there for you to get your foot in the door doing that.
I mean, I make no assumptions or whatever, but yeah, it would be really cool. So I think it's just a matter of applying myself and really focusing on getting to do that in some way. It's just we make a lot of toys, Eric. We gotta I don't have much time to do anything else other than work on this party wagon for you. So I can fulfill my dreams of working on vinyl LPs, or you can have the next party wagon. So I have a feeling that the choice is pretty clear.
Yeah, don't let me deprive everybody of their party wagon by suggesting that you work on your dreams, Kyle.
That's right.
And as much as I hate to open the can of worms here, but we are in December. This is we are recording this episode in December of 2021, and it's
Sure.
the end of the year. So a bunch of people wanted to know what are some of your favorite pickups of 2021, and I know this is always kind of ends up being a topic for an entire episode. So
Sure.
we'll take the pressure fully off of you. Let's just do quick. Each one of us picks just two things that we particularly enjoyed in no particular order from 2021.
All right, I'd like to go last because now I got to sort through my Toy Migos top 10 thing that I filled out and figure out which ones I want to eliminate just to two.
All right, I'll go. And again, these are by no means. I don't know if these are going to be in my top 10, but they are top of mind, and there are two things that I really enjoyed this year that I picked up. One I already mentioned on this episode. It falls into the category of things I didn't know I needed, which is my my Milo reaction figure. Descendants Milo. Descendants is one of my favorite bands of all time, so super stoked to have any sort of figure version of that. And I'll say that something else that I really enjoyed that I picked up this year was the NECA McCready figure from The Thing, because also file that under a thing I didn't know I needed was NECA McCready.
I filed that under FOMO for sure because I had that in hand and I was like, do I really need this? No, I don't. And I put it down, and then like the next day I was like, I needed that.
You can the new one, the one that comes with the flamethrower, is pretty easily available.
Right. We'll see. I don't know. I'll be presented with this choice again, and I have a feeling it's gonna take 3 times of me passing on it to finally pick one up. So we'll see.
I will say, as far as a 7-inch human dude figure goes, like just a guy, it's one of my favorite of all time. I love that movie. Like, The Thing is probably my second favorite, or second favorite John Carpenter film. But it's just there are little things about that figure that are just right. Like the way that they textured the coat to make it feel like leather and look like leather, the way that it moves, the facial expressions, like it's a very, very good figure.
That's a very untapped market of figures. Regular human dude.
Mm-hmm. We can always use regular human dudes. Us toy photographers. I always need people for the backgrounds of photos, as well as the foregrounds. Since Kyle requested to go last, Dave, do you have two that you want to just lay in real quick?
Well, we talked about one that will definitely be on the list. It is Papa Emeritus 1, the ultimate This figure rules.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very
It
kind.
just does. All right, I'll go with this one, not to give too much of this stuff away, but before the end of the year. But I'm gonna go with Mattel WWE Ultimate Edition Sergeant Slaughter,
Mm.
the Comic Con exclusive one. It's just it harkens back to the old mail away Hasbro kind of LJN style figure, but still is like this unreal Sergeant Slaughter figure.
Plus the packaging talking about packaging.
Yeah,
Ugh.
and then it goes back to the LJN packaging, so it's really cool. Like there's just a lot there to it. And it's one of those figures that where it's not just the figure, it's kind of the experience of the figure, kind of sort of like the Papa Emeritus.
All right, Kyle, we've stalled as long as we can for you.
Yeah, and I still don't have a decision. No, I'm good. We're gonna go Super 7 King Diamond and Super 7 Papa Emeritus. No, I'm not.
You
I'm not.
shill.
Not that guy. I'm not high on my own supply that much. No, actually, the two that I was looking at, just because I'm looking around the room here, the ones that they actually didn't wind up on my Toy Migos thing, but I'm very glad that I had them, and they kind of the first one falls into the category of things I didn't know I needed. That would be the Mythic Legions. I think his name is Balius. It's the brown horse. Just such a versatile figure. It literally fits basically with everything. And I don't know. A lot of what I collect beyond Star Wars or Witcher or Godzilla or whatever, I pick up a lot of stuff that I feel like I can learn something from, or it's an interesting example of how to execute articulation or sculpting or engineering or however you want to phrase it, whatever I need to really say to convince myself that I need this big stupid thing. So the horse is, there's not that many horses out there. I think Figma has some horses that are kind of small, but then, there were I think was it Toy Biz did some horses for the Lord of the Rings figures in the early 2000s and stuff. But then otherwise, there's not really that many articulated horses that are, more or less affordable and in this scale. So this Balius is, a really good resource in many ways. And then probably just for the sheer amount of work and engineering and probably tears that went into this thing that I'm guessing, but I'm pretty confident uh, about the HasLab Sentinel. Just not something I ever thought I would get at that scale, at that engineered. Just incredible in every way. It's one of the modern toy marvels, really. So I'm very glad to have that guy in my collection here. I have way too many X-Men figures, and I'm working on a display where they're all fighting him or attached to him or something. But right now, it just looks like he's standing over them as they're just piled up bodies because I haven't placed them yet. So yeah, that actually kind of works as a display.
Yeah.
So they may just
It
wind
does.
up being just dead forever.
Yeah,
So
alternate ending.
we'll see. That's right.
Well, with that, Kyle, you have survived the Q&A. You do not get a T-shirt, but you did it. You survived
Thanks,
the
man.
Q&A.
It was a lot of fun. I wish there were more questions. I would have answered more. This is talking toys is my favorite thing to do. So
Well-
I could do this for hours.
We'll just have to have you come back on. But
Yeah.
before we wrap it up and let you go, Dave, would you like to fulfill your role as this podcast's James Lipton and ask our final question?
I sure would. So the final question that we ask all of our guests is, what is your favorite and or strangest piece in your collection? Now it can be one of each or it can be both.
Well, that's a great question, James, and thanks for asking it. What I want to say is I'm going to do both. So I actually thought about this question for a good long while, and I feel like I've come out with the perfect answer for both. So we're going to go best for or favorite thing first, not best necessarily. Favorite thing that I have is I have the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Batmobile that is scaled for the 6-inch scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
That vehicle that came out a little while ago. That's my favorite Batmobile design. You and I are roughly the same age, so I feel like I'll
Yep.
probably speak for both of us, and that's the best Batman ever. Kevin Conroy is who I hear when I read my Batman comics, so on and so forth. I have that Batmobile, but I also had the opportunity to have it signed by Paul Dini when he came through the Cryptozoic offices one day,
Oh, that's
because
so
it was
cool.
in my office.
That's awesome.
And I was freaking out, and I was showing him all the Harley Quinn product that we were working on, and he was super jazzed about it. And I was like, hi, Mr. Dean, can you sign my Batmobile? And he was like, sure, man, no problem. You want me to ruin this for you? Absolutely. Like, great. Thank you. And then that same year, knowing that I had, Mr. Dini sign it, I knew that Bruce Timm was going to be signing at San Diego Comic-Con. So I brought this, and this, anybody who has this piece
It's big.
knows that it is not small in any way. It's, I think it's roughly 2.5 feet long, maybe a foot wide. It's huge. So I carried that, uh, you know, son of a bitch all the way through Comic-Con to Bruce Timm's booth, and had him sign it. And that's definitely the prized possession in the collection is the Bruce Timm Paul Dini signed Batmobile. One of these days I plan to have, Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, whoever I can get from that show to sign the whole thing. So
That would be fantastic.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a cool, it's my wizard's journey, right? Getting those signatures between now and when I die. So and then the weirdest thing that I have is that it strangest, weirdest? All
Strangest,
the same.
weirdest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could go either way.
One of the very first records I started my record collection with was I bought a copy of Led Zeppelin 2, but it is a Russian bootleg of Led Zeppelin 2 that was smuggled and traded in East Germany during the Cold War. So it was like illegal to have Western music and stuff. And I have a
Mhm.
Russian bootleg of Led Zeppelin 2 from that time period.
That's awesome. I've heard stories about some of those records where they were being pressed and like copied onto like really cheap kind of like really whatever kind of vinyl they
Yeah.
could melt down. So like a lot of times like there are like wacky colors or they're you
Luckily
know
mine's all black, but there's definitely like a couple like gray streaks in it, like someone like melted down a bumper or something
uh-huh.
and pressed it. It's pretty rad. So I almost never play it just because I don't know how many times you can mess with that like not perfect vinyl, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the strangest thing I got.
That's awesome. That is very cool. I actually
That's a cool one.
I know of their existence, but I've never spoken to anybody firsthand that actually has one. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it feels special for sure in like a this is very very old garbage kind of way.
I like that. This is very old garbage.
Yeah,
Somebody's Soviet era garbage is another person's treasure.
that's right.
Ah. All right, Kyle. Well, before we call it quits for the evening, let us know where can we find you on the internet? Where can we learn more about what you're up to and what Super 7 is up to?
Sure. For everything Super 7, go to super7.com. That's where you'll find links to available products and open pre-orders and stuff. And we post a lot on Instagram, talking about all of our stuff and videos and stuff like that. You can find me doing some product walkthroughs on the YouTube channel for Super 7 as well. And then just my own personal sites. I'm Wlodyga Dude on Instagram, which is my last name plus dude. I'm sure there'll be links on in this website here where this is
Yes.
posted to do all that. My personal website is Wlodyga.com, where you can see some of my design work and illustrations and sketchbook stuff and whatnot. And yeah, that's kind of me. So I don't have anything special coming up anytime soon. Just stay tuned to Super 7 for more products, and go check out the Party Wagon, see what we're talking about, see what all the fuss is about, and maybe you can tell us how you really feel in the comments section of our Instagram.
We have links to to pre-order the Party Wagon over at Super7.com, Entertainment Earth, all of the places where you prefer to order. We have that in our Instagram, in our link in bio. So hit that if you're looking for a quick way to get over to the Party Wagon. But yeah. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us on Adventures in Collecting. This has been an awesome conversation. Can't wait to see what you and the folks over at Super 7 have in store for us next.
Yeah, guys, thank you again for the opportunity. It's been really fun to talk to you guys. It's cool to see behind the curtain a little bit, because I definitely, like a lot of the other guests, I'll follow the links that you send out to spend money that I shouldn't be and all that. So now I get to tell you to your face, stop making me spend money. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.